Hey there. Welcome to another two-story compilation that I hope you'll like. Both stories have been narrated by the talented Aura Voice. First up, Milk, a cheap guy who really loves his milk. But at what cost? Next, Interactive Audience, a story about a narcissistic influencer who gets a rude awakening. Hit that subscribe button if you enjoy these eerie stories. Your support keeps me going to offer you more amazing tales that will leave your heart aflutter. Enjoy.
Story number 1.
Milk by Magic Art. Narrated by Aura Voice. In the heart of Pickett, Wisconsin, lived Leonard Nash. To the outside world, Leonard appeared to be an ordinary office worker. But beneath his mundane facade lurked a sociopathic mind. Leonard had an unusual obsession with milk. He always included it with every meal, and this was the case ever since he was a small child. In the past 5 years, he had been binging on a new kind of milk from a discounted milk delivery service. It sold milk with bioengineered ingredients, and he consumed it in copious amounts, often gulping down 2 gallons in a single sitting. But his love for milk soon turned into a sour nightmare. The price of regular milk had already priced most people out of the market. Now, the cost of Leonard's subscription milk was rising too. An extremely frugal man, the increased cost of milk greatly distressed Leonard. He scoured grocery stores for deals and bargains on this liquid gold, but to no avail. The thought of not being able to indulge in his favorite drinks sent shivers down his spine. To make matters worse, Leonard faced torment at his workplace involving his milk. His colleagues, fueled by jealousy and malice, bullied him by calling him Milkman Nash because all he ever brought to work for his lunch was a carton of milk. They regularly stole his milk from the community refrigerator, or they poured hand soap into it, leaving him hungry and humiliated. One fateful day, as Leonard sat brooding at his desk, he felt a strange sensation in his gut and on his stomach. He went to the office restroom and unbuttoned his shirt. To his horror, he had sprouted 4 huge welts on his belly. Panic coursed through his veins. He had a ridiculous health insurance deductible of $1,000, so he would have to handle this problem alone. Thankfully, his workday was almost over. He rushed home to his milk dinner and researched his condition on the internet. Leonard couldn't find any medical conditions similar to his own, and it was quickly getting worse. The welts were now 3-inch protruded nodules that wept a viscous white fluid at their tips. Depressed and frustrated, Leonard went to bed early that night. He dreamt about being chased by bulls in Spain. The next morning, he awoke to discover that his stomach now sported a full set of functional cow's udders. Desperate to keep his secret hidden, Leonard resolved to milk himself discreetly. He collected the strange milk-like fluid that flowed from his udders and experimented with using it in place of store-bought milk. To his surprise, it tasted just as good, if not better. Emboldened by his discovery, Leonard began to incorporate this udder fluid into his daily routine. He poured it over his cereal, stirred it into his coffee, and even enjoyed it with cookies as a dessert. But his newfound source of milk didn't go unnoticed for long. Rumors began to swirl around the office about Leonard's altered appearance. Gossip circulated about Leonard wearing a colostomy bag. Even his asshole boss pointed at Leonard's gut and spoke in hushed, scornful tones with other floor managers about Leonard's unusual bulge. Leonard got mad. These jerks would stoop so low as to mock someone with a possible disability? That's the last straw, he fumed. Unwilling to be the subject of any further ridicule, Leonard devised a plan to turn the tables on his tormentors. With a wicked gleam in his eye, Leonard started filling his empty milk cartons with his own udder fluid. This he regularly placed in the office's refrigerator. He figured that if he could grow udders from drinking some freaky milk, so could his milk thieves. At the very least, they had a nice present from him, which made him laugh every time he placed his special beverage in the community fridge. He watched with satisfaction as his coworkers unwittingly consumed his milk, sipping their enhanced coffee, unaware of the strange transformation that awaited them. As months passed, the effects of Leonard's milk became apparent. His office mates began to exhibit peculiar changes, sprouting cow horns, hoof hands, and paunchy underbellies like Leonard's. Panic spread like wildfire as the once ordinary workers found themselves transformed into bovine-like creatures. In the end, Leonard reveled in his revenge, relishing the chaos he had wrought. With a cold smile, he raised a glass of his own milk to toast his victory. Yum! Knowing that he had finally come out on top in a world that had always seemed determined to crush him.
Story number 2.
Interactive Audience by Magic Art. Narrated by Aura Voice. In the unforgiving depths of what Nell Mallory, with bitter sarcasm, referred to as the Boit, the bottom of YouTube, she held sway with a meager 41,000 subscribers, a self-anointed queen reigning over YouTube's shadowy underbelly for a decade. Nell, cloaked in an eccentric ensemble forged from thrift store relics, navigated her digital dynasty with a mercurial poise that mirrored her bizarre content. From metal detecting within government-sanctioned homeless encampments to forays into crime-ridden areas of her county, nearly everything was on the table to increase her viewership by just another 1%. Live streams, a digital gateway into Nell's tempestuous world, showcased her tempting doors in ghettos, peering into dimly lit residential windows, engaging in dumpster diving, and creeping around cemeteries and abandoned asylums in the dead of night. Verbal battles constantly erupted in the chat rooms of her live streams. Nell would seemingly be fully engaged in something that caught her attention, such as rats scurrying around her ankles. However, she was always aware of the ebb and flow of the conversations taking place on her live streams. Newbies who dared ask reasonable questions or express concern regarding Nell's weird and dangerous exploits were instantly put in their place by Nell herself, who labeled them as trolls who didn't know fly around the moon about her or her channel. "Dump him!" she'd bark at her mods, as they instantly booted the unsuspecting person from the chat room. This was invigorating fun for Nell and her flying monkeys. They relished humiliating and ejecting noobs, indifferent to any collateral damage, and at cross purposes with Nell's anemic goal of growing her channel's viewership. Good and kind people were bridges burned without remorse. And so Dot, a loyal fan and regular Super Chat contributor, bore the brunt of Nell's emotional abuse, a silent witness to her hateful and indiscriminate cruelty. Perpetually single, Nell now commanded a house, a tangible fortress amid the digital pandemonium she orchestrated. She wistfully spoke of needing people to come live with her and form a cult. People would laugh every time she would bring such nonsense up, but to those paying attention, Nell appeared to be serious. Covert narcissist that she was, she often quipped that it would be nice to have slaves at Casa de Nell to do her bidding. A hypochondriac by nature, Nell embraced untested vaccines with a bizarre fervor, concealing a darker truth, a hidden desire for a demise she hadn't reconciled within herself. She encouraged her viewers to get jabbed too, so that the polio and cancer bugs wouldn't get them. "The more vaccines, the better," she'd say. No one challenged her absurd claims, lest they get the boot, and most of her sycophants readily agreed with her. Nell had thousands of public YouTube videos that put her poor life choices on display. Her seedy past, a mosaic of bare-knuckled survival and self-loathing, was left unburied, a testament to her indifference towards societal judgment. Trolls, vile shadows in her digital kingdom, spat insults at her. Tramp, whore, grifter, loser. Yet Nell's resilience rendered their words mere echoes, water sliding off a duck's back. Then, one fateful night, Nell's perception about her YouTube audience of stooges, sinners, chumps, and saints drastically shifted. As she strolled through the ghetto, live streaming her precarious escapades, a colossal figure emerged from the darkness of a rat-infested alley. He fell in step behind Nell, an ominous presence transcending the digital veneer. On the dimly lit street, Nell spun around to confront the looming figure just as he advanced, ready to drag her into the shadows. "You're nothing, you little whore!" he growled, his crazed eyes burning into hers as he hovered over her petite frame. "I'll teach you to ban me from your trashy little channel!" His wild grin was like the gaping maw of a wolf. The livestream audience gasped in horror, their voyeuristic pleasure disrupted by tangible danger. Just then, a police car's siren pierced the tense air, lights flashing, and two officers, male and female, emerged with weapons drawn. "On the ground!" the female officer bellowed at the behemoth, who remarkably complied. The male officer directed Nell to cease recording, and she reluctantly obeyed. As the dust settled, the female officer, a familiar face from Nell's past, asked if she was okay. The officer revealed herself as Dot Patterson, once a rookie cop who had connected Nell to crucial resources during desperate times. A flicker of recognition crossed Nell's face as she realized the unlikely savior in the tumultuous night. Dorothy's presence, a convergence of past and present, offered Nell an unexpected lifeline amid the shadows of her chaotic existence.